Paddington in Peru is directed by Dougal Wilson, and it stars Mark Whishaw, Hugh Bonneville, Olivia Colman, Antonio Banderas, and Emily Mortimer. And in the third film of the Paddington franchise, Paddington and the Brown family travel to Peru to find Aunt Lucy, who has gone missing, and their journey takes them through the rainforest and the highest reaches of Peru. The first two Paddington films are so good. Everyone loves Paddington 2. They're just a lot of fun. They've got so much heart to them. They're just such a good time for the whole family. And I was so excited to see Paddington in Peru. I mean, it's been a long wait. We've had 7 years since the last century. So I begged that this film was worth the wait. And while this film is my least favourite of the three, I was still very satisfied. This is nowhere near the heights the first two films, but it is still a really good movie. I think the main thing that makes this inferior to the previous two is the fact that it kind of did a Marvel where it didn't really grow up with its audience. You got to remember, Paddington 2 was 7 years ago, as I said, and the people who were around the age for that film have now grown up. So you kind of need to cater towards that fan base a little bit more. But they don't really do that. They went a bit more childish with this film in terms of the jokes and the storytelling. And while I'm not asking for hardcore, bloody, violent movie in this franchise, I just thought it could have been a lot more mature than what it was. I also think that this movie is not as funny as the first two. I think the first two films do a really good job animating Paddington the best they can for jokes, and I think they used his understanding of the world around him to make situations more funny. With this one, they kind of just used repetitive gags, and there were a few jokes that did make me laugh, but I think for the most part, some of them just really didn't land for me. But despite its issues, I did think that the story was really nicely told. This one asks the question of what is a home, and does it define who you become in the future? It's a really nice arc to take Paddington on, and I really do think that the ending of this film was really emotional. And with how the film ends, it does feel like a farewell to Paddington. Now, I'm a bit unsure if that is the case, because I have heard that they might be doing a fourth film, but let's say that this is the final film. I wouldn't be too upset. I mean, I thought this was a nice farewell to the character. It really did feel like a really overall good ending for the character and the Brown family. I also thought the villains were pretty good too. They're not as strong as the first two villains, I'd say, but there's still a lot of fun and they're menacing. Antonio Banderas' character, he's your money-grubbing guy. He loves money. He chooses it over family. And you like the conflict between him and Paddington and what they have to go through. And it ends satisfyingly as well. There was also another villain who was okay. However, I do feel the reveal of them being evil was really obvious from the start. And as for the Brown family, some were better than others. Mary had a nice arc of appreciating her family and learning that her kids are growing up. I mean, it's kind of cliche in these movies, but it was really sweet towards the end. I did feel that Henry was going through similar arcs like he had in the first two films. In this one, he has to become a lot more brave and take more risks in life. And it was kind of just there for gags and humour. And it wasn't terrible. I did think some of the moments with him were really good. But it just kind of felt a little bit shoved in because they didn't know what to do with him, really. However, the children, you could have cut them out completely, especially the daughter, and nothing really would have changed. I mean, you don't mind their ending. I mean, you already like them from the first two films. They're not character assassinated or anything. They just don't really have any real reason to be there. But overall, I did think that the story was solid. And technically, I think this film is, again, not as good as the first two films, but it's still very nicely directed. Peru looks really nice. It looks like somewhere where you'd really like to go. However, I do think some of the green screen backgrounds were a little noticeable and very fake at times. Paddington and the other bears still look absolutely fantastic. The CGI artists do a brilliant job with them. I will say that the direction of this film was not as strong as the first two as well. I did think this one kind of toned it down with how wacky and animated they could have been with this film. I mean, it's not shot poorly or anything, and there are similarities to how the first two were shot. I just thought it was missing a bit of the magic of the first two. But I did feel that the editing was really strong, and it made the longest movie in the franchise feel quite like a breeze, really. This film did not feel like over 100 minutes. And finally, the performances were all really good. Ben Whishaw is just absolutely perfect as Paddington once again. His voice just makes you like him instantly. I don't know what it is. I just love his voice. It's just so heartwarming to listen to. And he just does an absolutely brilliant job as this character. Antonio Banderas was a lot of fun as Hunter Cabo. You could tell he was having a blast in this role and had a great time on this film. And he just brought a lot of joy and energy to the film whenever he was on screen. He's had a thing for playing boat captains recently, Banderas. I don't know why. Olivia Colman is good as always. However, I will say that her singing is not brilliant. There's just a random musical number shoved into this film. And I think you're a great actor, Olivia, but yeah, might need to work on the singing, unfortunately. And this was something I was concerned about going in. But I did think that Emily Mortimer did do a good job as Mary. If you didn't know, Sally Hawkins is not playing Mary like she did in the first two films. She's gone off to do her own thing. But honestly, Emily Mortimer did a good job and it really didn't distract me. So overall, Paddington in Peru is another fun time with this lovable marmalade-eating bear. I mean, it doesn't hit the heights of the first two. It doesn't really grow up with the audience. I do feel it was a little more childish. But I still had a good time. And it's one of those films that you can take your whole family to see, sit in the cinema with some drinks and some snacks. You'll have a blast for 100 minutes. I love the Paddington films. This was another very solid entry into the franchise. It's going to get a very nice 7.5 out of 10. And guys, that is it for the end of this review. If you have seen Paddington in Peru, let me know your thoughts on it. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a good day. And see you later.